What's up, guys? Nick Rapaz here. Welcome to the Paradise C6 YouTube channel. Yesterday I did get the motor and all that stuff out. A lot of the footage was like kind of messed up and you couldn't really hear. But I'm gonna go through and see if I can fix any of it. If I can, I'll throw that right in after this is over. But we did get everything cleaned up. I went and got a push broom so I could push broom all the stuff, make sure there's no screws or anything on the ground, and got everything cleared out. Took that stuff out, organized this somewhat. I am gonna pick up a lot of the smaller stuff and put it in that Eastwood box that just came in, just to keep that a little bit more organized. And then we're gonna get the Corvette in, bring in all the turbo parts and show you guys exactly what I bought, how the setup's gonna be, what we're gonna do to run everything. And then tomorrow we'll start getting into like tearing it down and all that stuff. I completely forgot to run to Harbor Freight today and grab the 4 30-inch jack stands. So these small ones that I have, they're pretty good, but it only brings it up probably like about 18 inches off the ground. And I want to be able to crawl under, get underneath, and move things around if I need to be. And for the fuel tank, we're gonna have to drop the tank for the new pump and all that kind of stuff too. So I gotta run and see John, pay him for the fuel pump for this, and hit Harbor Freight and get the jack stands that we need too. So we'll have everything set up for when I get back from Florida and be ready to go and get this turbo build going. Should take about 2 weeks to get everything all done. But let's go through the stuff that I got in from Eastwood. This is, so I told you I bought more tools, and this is probably that's the power washer dustless blaster thing attachment for the pressure washer that I still have to get. So for the Datsun, we're going to be doing a full 12-point roll cage in this, and I want to tie the cage into the body of it. So I bought a dimple die set, so this way we can do panels and it won't be an immense amount of metal to connect this to the body of it. And I'll show you how all that stuff works, but I'm really excited to use this kit. And it was only like 200 bucks, and it came with 5 different dimple dies. And most of the kits that I was looking at, they only sold them individually, and they were like $100 a piece. So I got 5 for 200 bucks, which is pretty cool. These are extra attachments because in the dustless blaster, the nozzles are plastic, like a hard plastic, and they get beat up after a while. So just in case we need to change them out, we have extras. And then open this. There's that knife. So the kit that we got, it's called a liquid media blaster. And basically, as you can see in the pictures, is how it works. You have it hooked up to your power washer. This tube goes into your media that you're going to be shooting. We're probably going to be using a glass media, and with it's called a Venturi system that sucks it up into the water as you're using it. That's why we have to get more of an industrial type of power washer, just so it has enough PSI to actually pull the media up so we can actually use it. So we'll be getting that, and we'll be starting on the Datsun that's just right outside there, and getting that thing ready for paint, roll cage, and everything that we're gonna be doing to it, and fixing all the rust in it. So we have everything we need. Super excited about all this stuff. Let me put you guys down, and we'll get the Corvette pulled in here. All right, so we finally got this thing in here. I'm really excited. This is definitely way bigger than the Datsun, but it fits in here with at least 4 or 5 feet of room on each side and front to back. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to go and grab pretty much all the parts that we need, and then we'll do like a breakdown of how we're going to set up the turbo system, what we're going to do over the next 2 weeks, and get this thing started. I'm going to turn the heat on so it gets warm in here, and with YouTube magic, I'm going to make the parts appear right there in there. All right, so everything's out here. There are a few things that I really just couldn't find. I had to go through my spare bedroom. I still haven't unpacked like half the shit, even though I've been living here for probably about a year now. But these are all the main components. The only thing I think I'm missing is the oil drain and feed, but everything else is here. And like I've told you guys before, we're gonna be doing a version 2, probably like midsummer when we get a new motor. This is gonna be the fuel system for that. So we have the Holley fuel rails and all the setup. Here's the turbo flange. Oh, here's some of the feed stuff. I actually was smart to put it in here. So we still have all that. But this is gonna be for the, oh look, I got sent a Steve sticker in here. That is probably about a year old. Yeah, I'm rambling over here. So we got all the stuff for the fuel system for this, but we're gonna actually save that, put that to the side. There is a 10AN fuel filter in here. And don't worry about the address stuff. This is a way old address. So yeah, this is the 10AN fuel filter, because we're gonna be doing 10AN feed and return, and we'll talk about that whole setup anyway when we get there. But for the turbo that we're gonna be running, it's a 7675 Precision. This is kind of a little bit better suited for a 5.3, and I think that's the new motor that we might actually go with. But this should still, it should make a lot of power early, really quick for it. And huge shout out to Precision for this, because I actually wrote them an email, and they got back to me and gave me 10% for being in the military, and then they actually wrote me a card for Christmas when I actually bought this too. So super excited about that. Everything's nice and tight tolerances. One thing that I will say on most of the stuff that I bought, I didn't really skimp out on much. I think the only thing I skipped out on was the intercooler piping. I just bought a CX Racing like universal kit right here. But let me pull out this. So this is a Treadstone intercooler. This thing's good till, I want to say like 1200 horsepower. I bought the pretty much the most expensive one that they had, because I plan on eventually making 4-digit power with this. And it's a super simple intake right here, which if you imagine, it'll sit in here with the radiator, and then this will go right into the center of the intake itself. So it's going to be very minimal piping, but I did get a bunch of piping so I can get it routed the way I want it. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to use to get welded. This is the 4 to 3 inch adapter, because this car does come with a 90mm throttle body, and that basically works out to be about 4 inches, and all the piping and stuff for the intercooler stuff is 3 inches. And what do we got in here? So this is all the V-band clamps for the actual turbo manifolds that we're going to be building. What do we have in here? I haven't looked at some of this stuff for a while. This is, oh, it's for the welder. So that's cool. Got the stuff for the welder. These are the big parts that I want to show you. So these are 1/2 inch thick flanges, and they are a perfect fit for, pull this out, these exhaust 90s. And I've showed you guys this before in an older video, but now that we're getting back to it, I'd rather rehash it. Let's see what it is. So these are 1.5 inch schedule 10, and they work out to be basically 1.9. So these fit in here perfectly. So when I make the flanges and everything, these will fit in here perfectly. We'll be able to get a good weld on the inside, outside. These will never leak and will be strong as hell. And this is what we're gonna be building the turbo manifold out of. So other stuff I picked up. So this is more 05 related. So if any of you guys have an 05 Corvette, it's got a 1-year ECU that can only read I want to say 2.5 or 2.4 bar, and which that equates to be 23 psi that the actual stock computer can read. And I just want to use a stock computer to keep this drivable and road legal. So this is a map sensor, so it'll read up to 2.5 bar, and it's a custom made one because no one makes it for a direct bolt in for the Corvette. So I had to order this. It was kind of expensive. It was like a 160 bucks if I remember correctly, and like a normal like 3 bar runs like 65 bucks, but you can't use that for the 05 because the 1-year ECU. Because if you try to use like a 3 bar from like a ZR1 or something, the hertz, I forget, there's a calculation that it can't read that, so you won't be able to get the proper amount of boost that you want. So the most I can run is like 23, 24 psi without doing a speed density tune. So I'm trying to keep this like mass air, so it'll adjust on its own and do everything its own. These are more like 45s. I just wanted different options for when we build the downpipe for the log manifolds. We got a Turbo Smart boost gauge, and the back of the turbo is a 3.5. So if you see that U pipe right there, it's a 3.5, and then the straight pipe right here we have is a 3.5. That's going to be our down pipe, and I'm going to keep the stock X pipe and all that stuff that's on there, and we're just going to build a Y to go to both exhausts. So this way, from the X pipe back, I don't need to change anything, and it'll stay stock. And then when I told you about the fuel system, we're going to be running for this one, I only want to make like 8 to 10 pounds of boost and get around like 650-ish. That's probably a good goal. 7 would be too high, but it should make around 650. We're going to do an intake pump by Racetronics. It's a 450 LPH, which like twin Wellboros 255s will be more than sufficient enough for the 650, 700 horsepower that we want. And this is an intake drop-in pump, so it's nice with that. In the stock fuel system, lines, rails, all that stuff, that can handle around like 650, 700 horsepower. So we're gonna leave all that stock. We're gonna do Simon Deca 80 pound injectors from Racetronics as well. They're all flow matched and all working in together. And I think that's pretty much it on the setup. A lot of this stuff is just fabrication work, and I showed you guys I actually did find this is the outlet for the turbo, the drain, turbo gasket, and then this is the 4AN to 8th NPT adapter. I do have the adapter block that goes on the side of the block where the oil pressure sensor used to go on the side and the back, and I'll show you that when we get that. But that's in the house somewhere, and I gotta find it. But this is pretty much the setup that we're gonna be running, and then me and James over the next 2 weeks are gonna be building all this stuff. So I'm super excited about all this stuff. I'm gonna get some stuff done on this and mock up where the turbo is gonna go, and then I'll show you guys like the routing, and then we'll probably just end it there, and we'll start tearing this thing apart tomorrow. So let me get a couple things set up, and then we will place the turbo in the engine bay, and then show you exactly what we're gonna be doing. All right, so we got the hood up, turbo's in here. We are gonna have to clock this a little bit different than the way it's sitting right now, but this is basically where the turbo is gonna sit. Maybe a little bit farther back somewhere in like this area, so we can make room for the wastegate that's gonna come on the end here. And we're gonna be doing a return style, so it'll go right back into the exhaust, just so we don't have flames shooting all over the place. But so the big difference with my car compared to most other stock Corvettes is the stock, this is your fuse box, is usually right here. So you have zero room with the fuse box in the stock location, and probably about a little bit more than a year ago, I removed the battery, put the battery in the trunk, and then we rerouted the harness here. So I took it all the way off everything that it was connected to, because it's connected to the alternator, some things on that side, the lights, all that stuff. Rerouted it so I can move this fuse box into this corner and get it out of the way and get it away from the heat. Because I did have a problem on the dyno where this got too hot, burned up a couple fuses, and we could not start the car whatsoever. And it actually shut down on the dyno at like 7,000 RPMs and shot like a 6-foot flame out the back. So I never wanted that to happen again, so I ended up moving it and just getting it out of the way. And it also created space for us to put the turbo right here. So we're gonna build basically a manifold that's gonna go down over, go under the transmission here with all the Schedule 10 pipe, come back up, and I'm gonna have it come up at the second collector. This way we can get the 3.5-inch down pipe right down in here, and it's all gonna fit like extremely tight. We might end up having to move a coil pack or two, but we'll get to that if we need to. And yeah, it'll lead right into the turbo. Wastegate will be right there, leading right back into the dump there. Right where this intake is, that intercooler is gonna go right in there. We're gonna remove the shroud and get that moved. I'm also gonna make some adjustments to how the radiator and condenser sits a little bit when we replace the radiator support that's underneath. So that'll sit right in there, feed right in with the 4-inch to 3-inch, and we'll be all set. We won't be using this mass airflow sensor. We are going to be using the card style. I don't know if I showed you guys that piece. It's where's that thing? I think I have it in here. Yeah, so we have this card style, and this takes an LS7. So I'm going to weld this right into the intercooler piping, and we'll be able to run an LS7 style mass airflow sensor with air temp on it as well. So I also bought the adapter, which is right there. So I'm trying to make this a simple, super simple setup. And I'm also going to make sure that when I'm placing the turbo, I leave enough space so we can run a bigger one, because I think the next one I want to step up to is a 88mm, possibly like a 92. So, because that's what we're going to need to hit that 1,000 mark. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible. Hopefully this goes really smooth and quick. It's just welding pipes up and getting everything in perfect angles. So it's going to be a little bit of tedious work, but I don't see it taking more than a full week by myself, and then James coming over on the weekends to help. So like 2 weeks maybe tops to get all this stuff done and get it ready to go. We do have to pull the oil pan so we can get the drain. I don't want to just tap into it and just do it like that. I don't mind taking the subframe off on the bottom and just enough so I can get the oil pan out and get that all done too. So yeah, so I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna get the jack stands and get everything and start tearing apart the stock exhaust on this and leaving everything where it needs to be, because this way I can build the turbo kit around everything and make sure everything fits, and we'll take things apart as we need to. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited as I am. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you've got any questions about anything that I bought, where I bought it from, or how I'm going to be doing anything, leave the comments down below. And if you haven't smashed the subscribe button, smash the subscribe button. We're super close to that 2,000 mark, and I hope we hit it in the next like 2 weeks or so. So, all right, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.